G'day viewers, Alan here, welcome to my workshop. So this video, which is only a short one, is a follow-on to the two previous ones where the Gosan lathe came into my workshop. So today I just want to show or share some ideas really on how I went about getting set up for long-term use of the machine. So I needed to set up storage locations for the things like the chuck and the faceplate when they're not in use, and the accessories for the tailstock and chuck keys, all that sort of stuff. And if you don't have homes for them or places for these things and keep the things in their places, then you get yourself in a mess. So anyway, that's what this is all about. Just wanted to share some ideas on how I went about doing all of that. Hope you find it interesting. Right, well I thought I might as well start with the easy stuff. This rack for the tool holders had been working really well, but I thought with the new tailstock it seems to come back a little bit further, so I thought the best thing to do was just raise this up a little bit, and you can see perhaps the holes where it was before. So that worked out all right. I didn't have to change any spacing or anything. Other thing I was able to easily carry forwards was this rack that was on the previous lathe. So I used this for the things that get plugged into the tailstock. So the chucks and centres and the big boy tailstock holder. So that all worked out all right. Naturally, it didn't carry straight over though, and the I had to set it so it was further out from the back, which meant making these spaces here. And I've got 30 seconds worth of video showing the lathe doing its thing for those. I'm making 6 of these guys as standoffs. And parting off is a lot easier when you fix the centre height once and it's constant. Easy as that when you can set the centre height and it doesn't move around and bugger about. And I also had to extend them down because the original hole, the hole that I used on the original install, clashed with this groove feature, and I didn't want to be drilling through that, so I welded a bit on the bottom and put a new hole in. So that all seems to have worked out pretty well. So that was the those two things. And another idea, at least, which I carried over was the rocket launcher sort of thing for the siren there. Sorry about that. Okay, siren's gone. So I carried over the idea of the rocket launcher for the chuck keys and such, including a spanner that I custom made for adjusting that. So that happily sits there. Anyway, so making this is pretty trivial. It's just 2 bits of tube welded together at 90 degrees. No magic there. And it's fitted with a couple of screws that are hidden in there to the bracket that supports the DRO display. So that's the chuck keys. Okay, so I think the next thing to have a look at is the how I chose to store and look after the chucks and the faceplate. Okay, so we're looking here at the cart or chuck wagon that I made to store the chucks and the faceplate when they're not in use. I didn't make any video or take any video of actually making it, because at the end of the day it's just bits of tube cut to length and welded together. There was a bit of trigonometry involved in working out the spacing of things so that the items in their rack have a ground clearance of about 20 millimeters. That was important so the thing would actually roll under the shelf where I want it to go. But a couple of things I wanted to just draw out in this design. First is the faceplate, as you will see, sits in here across the width of the frame. So why did I put 2 extra bars here and not just do it there? Well, the answer to that is centre of gravity. The faceplate, when it's standing there, as you'll see, stands really quite high. It's 360mm diameter, and if I'd had it up the end here, then this thing would have been a real tipping hazard. Would have been very prone to tipping. Not when the chucks are here, but if it was just the faceplate, that would have been quite dangerous. So I moved it inboard, so the centre of gravity is well between the wheels. So there's that. The other thing which I thought was worth just noting was how I attached the wheels. So I scrounged these wheels off an old office chair, and the way I've fitted them is I used joining nuts and machined it down, as you can see here. Turned it down so it fits happily in there. And now when I do it up, the bottom of the tube gets sandwiched here, and it seems to be a fairly neat way of doing it. So I'll just put this one into its spot. So I didn't have to get involved in making up plates and welding plates on, but that's it. If they come loose, I'll put a drop of Loctite on them. But yeah, and so if we move over to where it's intended to be, I'll show you with the chucks and the faceplate on it. Okay, so I think you'll be able to see now how it's all supposed to work. You can also see how high the faceplate is, and why I was worried about it tipping over if I had it too close to that end. There is also room for both chucks for when the faceplate's actually on, so that's all good. And most importantly, it does happily fit under there. So all I've got to do now is find some plastic bags to cover the chucks and faceplate up so they don't get filthy under there, because otherwise I guess they would. But just for the information of people who've never had the pleasure of hefting a 360 diameter cast iron faceplate, they're pretty darn heavy. You see here it's 24 kilos. Now 24 kilos isn't back breaking, but to handle it carefully and delicately, as is required when you put it on the spindle, you need mechanical lifting support. So that's what I've made sure I've got. I won't lift it with the chain, of course, so onto the lathe. The chain's just there so make it easy to hang off the scales. But getting things lifted off here and up onto the lathe, I can just roll my gantry over and use this to pick it up. I might have to make another one yet that's got the centre of gravity in the correct position, but that's no big deal. And I think this one will work just fine for the 4-jaw. So I think I can call this job done. Like I say, just need to find some plastic bags to cover the chucks and the faceplate up when they're not being used. Right.